In the waning light of the 20th century, one man stood as a bridge between ancient African imperial majesty and the modern world: Haile Selassie I, Emperor of Ethiopia. Revered by some as a divine figure and reviled by others as an outdated monarch, Selassie's final years reflect both the dignity of a fallen king and the complex legacy of an empire in turmoil. Born as Tafari Makonnen in 1892, he rose through the ranks of Ethiopian nobility to become emperor in 1930. Known as the Lion of Judah, he traced his lineage to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a claim that fueled both legitimacy and mystique. Selassie modernized Ethiopia, fought fascist Italy, and stood boldly on the global stage as a champion of African unity. But the twilight of his reign came with deepening shadows. The 1960s and 1970s brought global change. Independence movements across Africa, Cold War politics, and rising expectations from citizens tired of monarchy and poverty. Ethiopia was no different. Though Selassie had once inspired hope, many began to question his rule. By the early 1970s, famine ravaged parts of the country. In Wollo and Tigray, hunger tightened its grip. Images of starving children spread through the media. The emperor's government appeared aloof, unresponsive, and increasingly out of touch. His royal court continued to enjoy lavish banquets and foreign trips as rural Ethiopians perished. The discontent spread. University students, inspired by Marxist and socialist thought, openly criticized the regime. Intellectuals accused the monarchy of feudalism. The military, long seen as a pillar of stability, began to stir with frustration. Inflation, unemployment, and inequality added fuel to the fire. In 1974, a perfect storm gathered. Soldiers mutinied in Addis Ababa. Workers went on strike. Mass protests filled the streets. The air crackled with revolution. In September of that year, a Marxist military junta known as the Derg, led by Mengistu Haile Mariam, seized power. Haile Selassie, then in his 80s, was deposed. There was no grand trial, no ceremony, just a quiet end to a reign that had lasted nearly half a century. The emperor was taken from his palace and placed under house arrest. He was cut off from the world he had helped shape. No longer the Lion of Judah, he was now just an old man in isolation. During his captivity, foreign dignitaries pleaded for his release. Rastafarians around the world, who saw him as a messianic figure, were devastated. But inside Ethiopia, the monarchy was being systematically dismantled. Then came the final blow. On August 27, 1975, the world learned of Haile Selassie's death. The official story claimed natural causes. But many believed he had been murdered, strangled in his bed or suffocated with a pillow. No proper burial was held. His body vanished. 4 years, the truth remained buried, both literally and figuratively. It wasn't until 1992, after the fall of the Derg, that his remains were found beneath a concrete slab on the palace grounds. In 2000, Haile Selassie was finally given a proper imperial funeral. Thousands gathered at Holy Trinity Cathedral in Addis Ababa. The bells rang, the choirs sang, and the old trappings of empire returned, if only for a moment. To some, he was a despot who failed to address his people's suffering. To others, he was a visionary who modernized Ethiopia and stood against colonialism. His legacy remains contested. But no matter the view, the story of Haile Selassie's final years is one of complexity, of a monarch rooted in ancient tradition, undone by the storm of modern revolution. He died without a crown, without a throne, but with a legacy that still echoes, from the halls of African Union summits to the chants of Rastafari faithful. His end was quiet, but the memory of the Lion of Judah still roars in the hearts of those who remember. A fallen emperor, a symbol of a fading era, and a lesson in the rise and fall of power.